if I could change the red book, well, there's a lot of things that could be changed. Let's say updated and enhanced. Yeah, the red book is only a base. It's only the foundation. It's not concrete law. It is. Here's the difference. Yeah, there's what you call methods and principles. The objective of the Wun Hop Kuen Do red book is first to establish the method of what is taught, the Dacascos Wun Hop Kuen Do method, but then it's supposed to be enhanced with the principles. In Germany, for the last 30 years, the red book has pretty much been the same. And I know I need to sit down with the first generation, and we need to work on more progressive materials. Economically, it was better for me to be here in Europe for this particular time. While America was going through a depression with oil, Europe was not affected at that particular time. So economically, it was good for me to be here. Time-wise, it was also good to be here because only a year before Bruce Lee had passed away, and the Kung Fu was becoming widely known in Europe. And I had been here to demonstrate Kung Fu in the Deutschlandhalle in Berlin. Then I had several schools make a proposition to me to come and teach in Germany. And my first teaching was over at the Budo Club Nippon under Herbert Kranz in the Reeperbahn area, Altona. I don't know the street name. Everything has been positive, whether I won or lost. If I lost any of the fights, it just made me work harder, and it made me understand how the opponent actually fought. So it gave me an idea on how to come and use my principles next time around. As far as winning, yeah, I had a lot of winnings, but winnings was just a stepping stone for my own personal growth. I never look at a tournament competition for the trophies. It was more for enlightening my own fighting skills. It is an art that is very creative and has a lot of fluidity in it. So the movements are always constantly moving. Right now I'm in a series or part of my life right now that I am developing or making it more widely known, and the direction I want to go is called Dacascos Tactical Systems, DTS, primarily for self-defense in the law enforcement and military communities, but it's also for someone that's not interested in ranks, forms, rules, just something that is very practical, realistic, and to the point. I think the internet is really pushing the martial arts. I mean, if you can think back, going on 15 years ago, they didn't have this many games, you know, that were played on, you know, the Xbox or on Wii. But I mean, now you take a look at it, everyone has some kind of martial arts. Where they may not call it Kung Fu, but you see a lot of kick and punches and things that way. And this is actually going to be an interest. I mean, look at this summer, you've got, you know, a couple of films that are coming out. Like for instance, you have the Karate Kid that's coming out. This is a remake of something that was maybe 15 years ago, the old one. But you see, they may call it Karate Kid, but actually it's Kung Fu techniques that they're using. So it's good for us. That's really promoting with this type of things, because every time they make a movie, they put it on the internet anyway. So it helps all of the schools understand more on the Kung Fu. But they have to understand that Kung Fu is not only kicking and punching, it's a philosophical art of self-defense. There are many. You know, Kung Fu has told me that, you know, for one thing, you know, you have to be humble. You have to have respect for others. You got to have loyalty to what you do. You got to have integrity of what you do, and you got to be an honorable person. Now, you know, these are virtues that sometimes people have a hard time living up to. But Kung Fu makes you focus on being better today than you were yesterday. So it's like a progression. Everybody's going to have up and down, But the objective behind Kung Fu, meaning skill through the accumulation of hard work and time, that is what it is. Anything you do is going to take time and hard work to develop your skill. When we were young, we were very aggressive, much more aggressive than we are today. Now I think what we do is when we begin to make decisions, the decisions are made more with wisdom. And with wisdom, this is what we need more into the world, because wisdom causes us to think rather than to respond, which is good and bad, because you still need to respond when coming into self-defense. But with wisdom, you know whether it's right or wrong. Hubert is what we call the wolf man, right? Because of his last name. And one thing about Hubert, he's a loyal person. This is really good. And then in any martial arts, you need to have loyalty. And, you know, in my belief, he's an honorable person. He stands up for what he believes, you know. Whether some people would say it's wrong or right, it really depends on the individual, because you can look at any situation and you can give your own criticism or whether that's right or wrong. However, it is right when you are there to help people progress. It is wrong if you just kind of put them down. Well, Hubert has a group, and the group that he's doing is helping to progress and make them better. So that's a good, if you want to say good criticism, then it's a good criticism, and it's a plus. You know, I see a lot of good qualities, and there are a lot of good qualities in everyone. No one is going to be perfect, you know, and as a martial artist, our objective is try to make each other, or make oneself more enlightened and better today than we were yesterday. You know, a lot of students right now, they got influenced by, you know, MMA or UFC, and they might discover Kung Fu in a different way. Because sometimes a lot of the martial arts, they show too much of the fighting and not so much of the philosophical and psychological part of the martial arts. I think people that get involved with the martial arts, the first draw is to know how to fight and how to defend themselves. But along the way, it is the instructors, the Sifu's responsibility to teach the student that Kung Fu is not an art to destroy people, but learn how to perfect and make them as a better person to help the community. When I was a child, that I would always have the bullies always pushing me around. And whenever I was in a position where I was tired or run down or not motivated, I would think about the times when this person would shove me or try to punch me. It would come back into my mind, and that would re-motivate me. You always have to look at something that affected you to motivate you. Or if you had, like sometimes my teacher would walk up to us and I would say, you know, he says, "Are you tired?" And I say, "Yeah." And he would slap me in the face, and all of a sudden I want to go. And he says, "Good, that is good. Now control your anger. You control your anger, you control yourself. Power over power, control over control." It's more mental and emotional. I practice my techniques to make it effective and practical. I call it my old man style of Kung Fu. I don't get down into the horse stance or things this way because I understand the foundation. I do practice materials that is going to be effective and make it work right now. But I'm not doing the forms like how I used to do the forms. That is when I was younger. But I would recommend that a student start that because you develop the stamina, the conditioning, you understand what Kung Fu is all about. And then it's like ice or water that's put into the freezer. It's water, but when you put it into the freezer and you let it get hard, very, very hard, then you can bring it out and it still stays the shape of an ice before it melts down. But if you have water and you put it into the freezer and you take it out too quickly, it's not ice yet, and it goes from water to slush and back to water. So I feel that I am already an ice and I can stay out a little bit longer from not practicing, but I can also go back and still maintain my form.